Today is Monday, May 13th, 2024. We are facing the rising sun of a new day begun. You are viewing Issues and Answers on the WCEG network. I am your host, Norman A. Carter Jr. My goal is to enlighten your perspectives about our environment, our socio-political struggles, and those banes of classism and racism that make all of our lives more difficult than they should be. And in so doing, our hope is to bring us all together in a human tapestry of brotherhood and sisterhood bound together by threads of understanding, respect, and tolerance of our physical, racial, and religious differences. Hopefully, we can have a discussion of ideas based on facts, not fiction, that will encourage us to think critically, not emotionally. Let there be no doubt the voice of WCEG is in concert with those that ring with the harmonies of liberty. We pray that one day our efforts will let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies, as it resounds loud as the roaring seas. If you're currently watching, we thank you. Inform your neighbors, friends, and associates that we can be viewed live via YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and over streaming devices such as Roku. Our podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, and GeoSaavn platforms. All of our programs are archived on YouTube and can be viewed by anyone at any time. Now, please understand that the topics and opinions on Issues and Answers are those of the host and my guest host and not the WCEG network. So let's get moving on this installment of Issues and Answers. Talk about power. When it comes to government and capitalism, power is the coin of the realm. It's not race, it's not sex, it's not country of origin, it's not popularity. It is power. Anyone or anything that threatens the power structure will come under vicious attack. Too many of you are ignorant of the history of the bloody and deadly battles between Carnegie and Rockefeller. Power. William Boss Tweed and Tammany Hall and its stranglehold on government and employment in New York. Power. President Nixon's enemies list, which used the IRS and other government agencies to punish those who were deemed as threats to Nixon's reign in office. Power. Mayor Richard Daley of Chicago, who had such a corrupt and powerful organization that he influenced the election of Senator John Kennedy to the presidency. Power. Nearly all of you have forgotten about Dorothy Hunt. She was the wife of E. Howard Hunt. He was a former CIA operative who was instrumental in the Watergate scandal that dethroned President Richard Nixon. Dorothy Hunt threatened to reveal details about Nixon's influence in the break-in at the Watergate Hotel. She was killed in a mysterious plane crash after receiving $10,000 in hush money. Power. Now, may I speak to moi, your present host on Issues and Answers? When for some of you know that I was a former police officer in Philadelphia who went through police departmental channels to expose a thoroughly corrupt group of police officers and police commanders. I was harassed for over 2 years while I was a police officer. And the only reason I survived is because they could not find a legitimate way to fire me. In fact, they became so twisted in their obvious lies that they put their careers in danger and had to stop. Now, that stoppage was only a pause because harassment resurrected 5 years later after my retirement and forced me to leave Philadelphia, to move from Philadelphia after I continued to expose practices that forced a change in policies in crime reporting and the transportation of prisoners. relevant. Read the details in my autobiography, The Long Blue Walk, My Journey as a Philly Cop. Remember, ignorance is deadly. That's not hyperbole. Freddie Gray is dead. He is dead because of callousness and ignorance. Had Baltimore police officials paid attention to what changed in Philadelphia's transportation policies, Freddie Gray would be alive. But police chiefs, mayors, law enforcement leaders across the country, including Baltimore, ignored Philadelphia's change, and they even discarded letters and copies of my autobiography that I sent to them. That includes the Baltimore chief of police and its mayor. Now, a new government leader is under threat. Now, let's go back specifically about power. Remember a group, because I'm going to tie this all in for you. Remember a group called the Proud Boys? They still exist. They are a violent, extreme, right-wing group of thugs who were the nucleus of the second insurrection of the United States government on January 6, 2021. Lodge 5, my lodge of the Philadelphia Fraternal Order of Police, hosted and feted the Proud Boys at their lodge headquarters weeks before the insurrection. Nationally, the Fraternal Order of Police has never condemned the deaths and serious injuries suffered by members of the U.S. Capitol Police Force. 147 United States legislators who frequently boasted their support for police officers supported the insurrection, and many refused to show support for the injured police officers. Now, this is all connected. A Maryland state attorney, Marilyn Mosby Esquire, arrested 5 police officers involved in the death of Freddie Gray. She had no idea what she was up against. She was taking on the National Organization of Police Officers who were directly in league with the violent extremists who supported President Donald Trump. They endorsed him. She was taking on 147 legislators, all sycophants of then President Donald Trump. They supported the insurrection and had no regard for the police officers injured and were willing to overturn a legitimate election no matter the cost, no matter the means. She was taking on a Republican political machine, not unlike William Boss Tweed of Tammany Hall or Richard Nixon's enemies list, or the Watergate conspirators who killed Dorothy Hunt. But to date, few of you pay attention to anything I say. So let's see if you will pay attention to Lieutenant Colonel Tyrone Post of Maryland. Lieutenant Colonel Post, welcome to WCEG's Issues and Answers.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on this platform. We need platforms like yours to counter the narrative that's being spoon-fed to us by the corporate media, which one of the things that Malcolm said about the corporate media is that if you're not careful, the media will have you loving the people that are doing the oppressing and hating the oppressed. And that's what's happening with Marilyn Mosby. Now, Freddie Gray was a small part of why the FOP was angered by her. Freddie Gray officers, when she brought charges against the Freddie Gray officers, she stopped a 17-day riot dead in its tracks. A lot of people don't know that. Freddie Gray was a victim of brutality suffered during an illegal arrest, and we're all subject to illegal arrests. Okay, and they tried to say he had a switchblade. He did not have one. He had a knife, but it was a legal knife. He didn't have any drugs on him. Maybe he sold drugs, but he didn't sell drugs that day. So technically, it was an illegal arrest, and we were able to lower the murder rate in Baltimore last year with 600 less police, and with extremely lower amounts of legal arrests due to the consent decree that Marilyn Mosby was able to navigate or justice to. Now, what the FOP is really angry about is the 33 corrupt officers that she successfully prosecuted. Freddie Gray officers got away. The 6 Freddie Gray officers got away because the black judge, Mr. Barry Williams, the black judge in that case, turned the sound down in court. So you couldn't see that he was screaming in agony before he got in the van. So basically, I believe his injuries were sustained outside the van by the 2 white cops, but it was exacerbated by the ride once they put him in the van unrestrained. Now, by them taking the incident from outside the van to inside the van, that leaves you with the 2 black officers. That's the worst thing that could happen was the 2 black officers that were driving the van were the ones going to get prosecuted, and the white officers that injured him were going to get away. So you see how this works, and they weren't even smart enough to realize they were being used. So Marilyn Mosby went on after she lost that case because the judge turned the sound down. Black judge turned the sound down in court. She went on to prosecute successfully 33 police officers. Where have you heard that? We had police officers in Baltimore City selling drugs, collaborating with drug gangs, doing all kinds of malfeasance, committing robberies, burglaries, and we suspect murder. And we had state prosecutors, state's attorneys that were looking the other way. When Marilyn Mosby got in there, she decided not to look the other way. She also exonerated 13 innocent black men that were left in jail to rot for a total of 300 years. A total of 300 years. She exonerated them. People knew they were innocent. They let them sit there and not. And Marilyn Mosby came along and she freed them. Now, we had a rally for Marilyn Mosby, and some of those gentlemen came there. They were middle-aged, muscle-bound men crying like babies, saying she saved their lives. So this is serious. They also said that there are other people in jail that are innocent, and now there's no Marilyn Mosby to rescue them. So that's what the thing I want everybody to understand is that when we get leaders that will stand up for us, we have to stand up for them. Otherwise, they're not going to stand up for us. Now, Marilyn Mosby faced 40 years in jail, and they're trying to make an example of her. Okay, let state prosecutors all over the country, black ones especially, know that you don't prosecute police. The FOP don't care if those police were corrupt. They were only committing corruption in black neighborhoods, so it doesn't matter to them. You need to understand. Now, since and Professor Lawrence C. Brown, the guy that wrote The Black Butterfly, which explains the racial disparities in Baltimore and how a lot of the investment goes to white neighborhoods as opposed to black neighborhoods, or 4 times as much investment. He said that the murders started to decline in Baltimore in August of 2022. That was towards the end of her term. Now, she has been employing tactics that she learned from overseas with other prosecutors. She learned best practices overseas. While she was overseas, the media said she was over there sunning herself and enjoying herself with taxpayers' dollars. They would not say that she was over there trying to find back practice for our people. Now, she also stopped the rest of low-level crimes like possession of marijuana. The reason being is, you know why? You know why she stopped it? Because the media said she's making more crime. She stopped it because the only people the police were bringing in were black people. That's why she stopped. And they convinced black people in Baltimore that she's increasing crime and not enforcing the law. She said she was still enforcing drug dealing, but possession is a sickness, not a crime. And in places like Portugal, where they decriminalize all the drugs, including heroin, in 2002. In 20 years, they cut the heroin addiction rates in half. But they had task force. They don't do it like they do in the United States. They didn't just legalize and leave people alone. That's crazy. What they did was they set up task forces to find out what was wrong. Did they have a mental issue? Did they need a job? They need a job, they got them a job. If they had a mental issue, they got them treated. Make the person whole again. And here, when they do that, they don't do anything for the person. They say, okay, you use all the drugs you want. That's stupid. That's not going to work. Because they want that program. They want it to fail. But the idea is that she also had a 90% conviction rate, which is very good. Now, the police didn't want to support her. They want to make her look bad in a lot of cases. And they were saying things. I said in one community meeting where the police officer, they complained about somebody selling drugs at a 7-Eleven. And I attended that meeting. And the police sergeant there said that we can't do anything about it. And I said, sir, that's not true. I said, Marilyn Mosby said publicly on television that she was still prosecuting drug dealing. She said she was not prosecuting drug possession. So you see how the media,
there's a difference.
to make her look bad.
Right.
So that turned the public against her in Baltimore because they were susceptible to the propaganda. Remember what Malcolm said? Malcolm also said that the media has the ability to make the innocent look guilty and the guilty look innocent. That's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
power. So that's what they were doing. Now, having been in the military and having being a retired military officer, I attended a lot of classes on counterintelligence, on psyops, on civil affairs, winning the hearts and
Mm-hmm.
minds, all stuff, and taking out leaders or whatever. Now, they have two types of power. One soft power, and one is called hard power, which is weapons, like
Okay.
M16 tanks, airplanes, and all that, helicopters. Then you have soft power to take somebody out. You use soft power to take somebody out, which is
Mm-hmm.
the media, the
Mm-hmm.
courts, and the financial institutions. All three of these were used against Marilyn Mosby. So this has all the hallmarks and fingerprints of a counterintelligence operation, what we used to call COINTELPRO back in the 60s. So
Mm-hmm.
this is
Tell
very
us.
serious. Our government came from Marilyn Mosby because she was doing
Good.
things that, see, we think the system is broken. It's not broken. It's working precisely the way they
Mm-hmm.
designed it to work. And now it's on automatic pilot. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you listen to Michelle Alexander, the criminal justice system is a major tool of social control for Black people since slavery. So
Mm-hmm.
when you start tinkering with that tool, the people in power, they don't care for you anymore. They want to get rid of you. And that's what we're facing. This is why Marilyn Mosby is facing 4 years in jail. And one of the things she's facing 40 years for, she's never been tried for in the first place. She was tried for taking her own retirement money out early under COVID provisions.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge would not allow experts in COVID provisions to testify. So you see how they were trying to screen the jury from useful information that may have exonerated her. Now, that's called selective prosecution because 739 people in the city of Baltimore alone, took their money out the exact same way Marilyn Mosby did. She was the only one investigated and prosecuted. Okay? And there were thousands of people all over the United States that did the same thing. She
Yeah, I
was the
heard it's
only one.
35,000. I heard it.
Yeah,
Heard the
thank you.
number
35,000 people
35,000. Right.
throughout the United States that did the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the one prosecuted. Now, according to the Justice Department guidelines, they define that as their own guidelines. They define it as selective prosecution, which means
Mm-hmm.
that you take a crime that you never tried anybody at known university for, and you try them with that crime because of who they are. That's what happened
Right.
to Marilyn Mosby. That's illegal according to Justice Department guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we believe this subject is going to be overturned on appeal because it's flimsy.
Sure.
However, the danger is that while she waits for that appeal, the
She's
judge can put her in
incarcerated.
jail and make her wait,
Right.
and make wait for the appeal and take away her law license, which is what they wanted all the time. They wanted to strip her of her law license, which takes her power. You talk about power. That's the power she has. That's a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to defang her. So what you got is she suffered enough. She's spent $500,000 in legal fees. So the judge ruled her indigent, and she had to get a public defender. She
Wow.
she suffered numerous death threats. Stand up for us, to herself and her family. She suffered endless harassment by the FOP. They tried to sue her several times while she was arresting these officers, and so she's exhausted her funds doing that. She says to hire 24/7 security because she has exhausted her funds, and she has had to get a public defender. So we have a GoFundMe set up to help her and her children at time of need. If you go to, and I'm going to get back to what I was talking about, but I want, so I don't forget, go to justiceformarilynmosby.com, justiceformarilynmosby.com. Very easy to remember. Spell it out. Mosby is not spelled with an E. It's spelled with
Mm-hmm.
a Y.
Oh, why? Right.
Mosby. Justiceformarilynmosby.com. All right. And Marilyn is spelled Marilyn. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you will find a petition there. You will find a legal analysis by Angela Rye, who's a good lawyer, and Andrew Gilliam. And Tiffany Cross. Tiffany Cross is not a lawyer, but she's a journalist. There's a podcast called the Native Land Podcast. They explain why that was a bogus trial. They break it down for the Black community to understand that. So it's a very important people go to that website. And then the pardon petition is online. You can sign that. We're up to like 33,000 names now. That puts a lot of pressure on Joe Biden to pardon her. And
Could you tell us, our audience, Could you tell our audience how many signatures are required for a pardon?
It's not a signature thing. We just developed that as a tactic to put pressure on the president and make him
Okay.
understand that
Okay.
people care about this and they want a
Okay.
pardon. They care about, what's going on.
Okay.
So yes, so far we have 33. We want to get 100,000. That's what we want to
Okay.
get. That's a respectable number. This is an election year, and we're
Mhm.
telling Joe Biden, as far as Michael Flynn being pardoned before sentencing, what's good for the gander is good for the goose. And I'm not saying it
Right.
backwards. A gander's a male goose.
I
All
know.
right.
I'm with
So
you.
I mean, I'm not saying that for your. I'm saying for the edification
Yeah.
of the public. Let's say that fool's saying it backwards. You know how we are, highly critical of each other. So some of the things that happened, they claimed that she's convicted of lying that she had an adverse financial hardship. But if you look at the application for the early retirement, the words say advanced financial consequence. The
Mhm.
government could not define what a hardship was in court, and she was still convicted of lying about it. You see how they changed the word and get the conviction.
Sure.
But the government was able to define what was on that application, advanced financial consequence, which means if you had a loss of $50,000 more during the pandemic, you qualify to get your money,
Mm.
which means they wanted
Mm.
everybody to get it.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So by using tricky wording, and the public is not paying attention to this stuff, they were able to catch her. The other thing is, when we got there, there were only 5 people in court with her. The church deserted her because the FBI was going to her churches. The FBI was going to her friend's house as early as 5 in the morning and questioning them about Marilyn Mosby.
Mm. Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
they
Mm.
questioned her children's dance instructors. You understand?
Wow.
So
So it
they
happened to me, so I know how it works.
yes.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, Donald Trump threatened to send federal troops, not federal troops, but federal agents in white vans to come to Baltimore to arrest protesters. Remember, he was doing that all over the country for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah.
he got to Baltimore and said he was going to do that, Marilyn Mosby said, if you send those agents to Baltimore to arrest my people for protesting, I'm going to arrest them. So she's
Mm-hmm.
still Donald Trump. And you know what happened? You know what happened when you send to Donald Trump? It's a payback coming.
Right. Yeah.
So that's when he took the FBI on her. Now, Donald Trump also said publicly that prosecutor, and I'm paraphrasing, in Baltimore needs to arrest herself. Needs to prosecute herself. That's what Donald Trump said. So a guy like him, you come after him, he might, if he has the power, he'll come after you. You know that.
Well, isn't he the same guy that called referred to Baltimore by a terrible name? Can't think of the name of it, but he had no love for Baltimore.
He has no
The
love for any brown or black
but
country. He called them
but it was
SO countries.
oh yeah, but the
So,
why can't I think of the name? The African American he died recently. Um, Congressman. Uh,
Elijah
uh,
Cummings. Elijah Cummings.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, and he talked. That's when he talked bad about Baltimore. Yeah,
Because Cummings was always on his butt. That's why.
right,
But
right.
anyway, okay, some other things that happened in court. A juror might have witnessed somebody doing while they were sequestered. You know what a sequester is, right? You're not supposed to hear
Yes.
anything
Mm-hmm.
deferential to the plaintiff or whatever, or the or defendant. Now, the jury may have heard an official say the B-I-T, I'm saying bitch got what she deserved. An
Mm-hmm.
official in court say that.
Right.
But the judge would not let the jury be pulled by the defense to find out who heard it, so they could be struck.
Wow.
Yes. So, and by the way, this is the first trial she ever tried. Never had a high-profile trial like this. Never had a trial before. Black judge, and I think she was a tax attorney. I don't think she's a criminal a lawyer, but this is the first trial. So you figure that one out. I'm not saying she's not qualified. I'm just saying it looks
Nope.
suspicious to
But
me.
that's what they do. They get people who are beholden. Get you beholden to
Exactly.
certain people. Yeah, I know how it works.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, right. You're cool. Go ahead.
Okay, so that might make her. She might get a star in her, a feather in her cap for that. I don't know. I don't know how it works. You say you know how it works, but I'm gonna leave
Mm-hmm.
that alone. The
Yeah.
FBI spent millions of dollars going into her personal business, a mortgage for 6 years. Think about that. They did it to you.
Mm-hmm.
FBI forensic agents go through your taxes, your mortgage,
Yeah.
documents, all your personal financial records for 6 years. You think they ain't gonna find anything? You gotta be a damn
Mm-hmm.
fool to believe that. So if they
Yeah.
can do it to Marilyn Mosby, they can do it to you. That's what I'm trying
Exactly.
to say. Yes, they can do it to anybody. And the other think about this. She's being prosecuted on mortgage fraud for a house she bought in Florida.
Right.
A judge in Maryland has no jurisdiction in Florida. Nobody in Florida complained about that, but they brought charges in Maryland. Now they try to say the reason she has jurisdiction is because it might have been phone, wire fraud, but they had never
Okay.
proved that in court conclusively that they had no wire. So it's all, you know, oh God, preponderance of the evidence, which we
Hmm.
want beyond a reasonable doubt for a criminal, not preponderance of the evidence. That's civil.
Correct. Yeah,
So
that's
this
civil. Right.
trial, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I do understand words mean something. I understand military regulations. I understand the Uniform Code of Military Justice because I had to
Hmm.
understand it. But
Yeah.
so I get it. I can read law and understand just as well as any lawyer can. So I've studied all this stuff, and I know that this is not right. And they basically railroad this sister. It's a high tech lynching, and I'm not the one to cut you down after lynching. I'm the one to stop it. You understand?
There you go.
That's where we're
Okay.
at. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, no. One thing, let me get this out to the public because I don't think we covered it. Civil rights groups are supporting um, Mrs. Mosby.
Yes, the
They,
NAACP and 14, and 14 other civil rights movements.
so, for the purpose of our audience, did she solicit these groups to support her, or did they just come out and support them on their
There
own?
was such an outcry. Now we had a rally, and there was Miss. First of all, some of the people working on the ground for Miss Mosby. Let me get it straight. When I first found out Miss Mosby, she was in court with 5 people. You understand me?
Hmm.
And when I found my friend of mine named Haki sent me film showing her at a birthday party with 4 people and they in some cheesy looking, you know, place. And I'm like, that's not right. We can't have our state's attorney that stood up for us like that. So we organized myself, Sister Sheena, Laura Smith, a contractor, and Bill Gooden. We all organized to get people to rally around her. We by the end of the week, we had a couple hundred people in that court with her, and she cried like a baby. She said, "I thought y'all were black angels coming to save me." And she said the worst thing. She said she had to do it over. She would do it again. But the thing that hurt her the most was when she turned around and saw nobody behind her, because people were saying they had her back, but when she turned around, they weren't there. She said, "Y'all must be way back there, so I don't see
Yeah,
y'all."
yeah,
And that's what he did. And I
yeah.
was talking to a white lawyer. She sat down beside me when I got there. She said, "If you had this many people here at the beginning, they would threw us out of court." She says it's all nonsense. She said that I was sitting at home listening to, because there's no cameras in court in Maryland. She said I was sitting at home listening to the news reports, and she said it didn't make any sense. So I came here to see for myself as a lawyer, and it still don't make any sense. She said, for one thing, this should never came to court. If she was guilty of something, which I can't see she is, it could have
Hmm.
easily been settled by a fine or a payment plan. You don't bring stuff like this to court. And if it does come to court, it stays in civil court, not criminal court. So she's facing 40 years for some pumped up stuff, arcane law, that they're just trying to find anything to stick. They want to take a law license. That's what we need to understand. She's not really guilty of anything. I said in the court. It was like a kangaroo. I'm not going to say, I'm going to leave it that alone. But it's not
Yeah,
Maryland,
yeah,
it's me.
yeah,
Understand that.
yeah.
Now we got all those people together, and we've been writing these civil rights organizations. We had Josephine Morning from DC. She's in charge of the regional SCLC, and they have connections
Hmm.
with NOSP. I went down there personally and talked to people. So we have been reaching out to all these people, writing to Joy Reeves and all these other people of the world, and let them know that we need help for the sister. She's standing up for people, and Andrew Wright was one of the first people to get involved. And I use my website. I'm the president of a housing organization called Homes, Home Ownership Opportunity and Ministry for Economic Success. I use
Hmm.
my website at first until they get the national website up. And I gave it my whole first front page. So that's how people started knowing about it. We started getting out flyers and handouts. It's just organization. We started handing out to the public, having rallies and making people aware that this is going down to this sister, and we need to stop it because this is an attack on all of us. And they basically saying, and I'm sorry, I'm hoarse. I'm a little
No,
hoarse
good.
because we had a demonstration in Washington D.C.
I
on
heard
Saturday.
yesterday. On
It
Saturday,
was
yes.
Saturday, yes. We were saying, we were screaming, "Justice for Marilyn Mosby! Justice for Marilyn Mosby! Justice for Marilyn Mosby!" We marched from Freedom Plaza to the White House, and we spoke in front of the White House with in the backdrop and the people behind us, with the signs and all that. We explained what was going on. And the crowd of people, white, black, Puerto Rico, everybody, they were very interested in what we had to say because it doesn't sound right. People of good faith and goodwill all over the world know this is wrong. So once you explain to them what's going on, and that's what my intent. That's what is my intent today with you to help spread this message and have people go to that website, justiceformarilynmosby.com, and do what they can to help the sister.
One of the things that makes me glad that Lieutenant Colonel Boast that you're here with us today is because you can give a perspective on something I think people are missing. I was in the military many years ago, and I just missed going to West Point. But Lieutenant Colonel in the military, you know what it takes once you start going from moving up into
private. Let me say this real quick. I started off as a private E1. I made sergeant. I and I went to something called Officer Candidate School. If you ever saw the movie An Officer and a Gentleman, that was Marine Corps OCF. That stuff in there was a joke. That's a joke compared to what they really do to you.
Oh, I know.
Army OCS. Okay,
I know.
They can't depict that in the movie. So that's what I'm saying. We started with 150 hardcore soldiers. We ended up with 35. We graduated 35.
Wow.
We started with 35 black people. We graduated 4, and they leaned on the black people the hardest. I was one of the 4, and I led the class in the graduation song. They told me I would never make it. Every day they would tell me that. But anyway,
what I want to go to our audience, because I had something similar because I went to West Point Prep, and out of 144 graduates, there were only 4 blacks.
Right. So you understand.
But yes, so going into the military, Lieutenant Colonel. Now you have different grades. You have your field grade positions, and then you go higher. General grade, I think that's what it's called. But my point is, that there are certain requirements once you get to become when you get to Lieutenant Colonel and up about things you can and cannot do, and that certain things are looked upon as being I won't say traitorous because that's a bad word.
But, no. Let me explain that real quick. What I'm doing right now has nothing to do with traitor.
Oh no.
It has to do with justice.
Oh no, not you. Oh no, not you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, not you. Follow my point. Follow my thinking here, because I want to talk about Michael Flynn.
Yeah, thank you. That's what got my mind when you said that. That's my next point I was going to make.
That's where I'm going. That here was a lieutenant general in the United States Army that was a paid agent for a foreign country, paid in violation of law, totally in violation of law, of any kind of law you want, as un-American as you can be. He was pardoned.
Yes. Now, here's the other thing. He also counseled the president on suspending the Constitution and declaring martial law, which would have put this country in a constitutional crisis.
Yeah, but he also wanted to confiscate the voting machines. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They were pardoned over a lie that the election was stolen. And every Republican judge said it was BS. So you want to pardon this guy, and Marilyn Mosby, who's innocent really, is not worthy of pardon. We're doing our job. Oh, come on now. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. Good point. I was about to mention that when you said traitor. No, I'm not the traitor. It's that joke.
Yeah. Oh, no, not you. No.
And I'll say this as a retired military officer. He was a disgrace to the officer corps. That's Tyrone saying that. All right? That's
absolutely.
Disgrace.
We got Paul Manafort. These people, and folks, and I just don't understand that people get the gravity of this. I talked about Dorothy Hunt being murdered. Okay, well, that was a long time ago. We really can't prove that, and that sounds strange. It's just your opinion. Okay, what about Mr. Epstein, who had evidence on Trump and a whole lot of other people, who was arrested and put in jail and was mysteriously hung?
Oh no, he committed suicide.
Yeah.
But right.
Yeah.
But let me say something about that. Let me say something about that. It's got to come from massa. For a lot of us, if you're saying it, you're not white. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right.
it's got for some people they got to hear from a white man. Otherwise, they won't
Yeah.
accept it. So until they
Yeah.
hear it from Massa, it's not going to register with them because it's got to be our fault because Massa been good to us. You know, Massa been good to me. Why you making all this trouble?
Yeah.
Mr. Carter, why you making all this trouble? Massa been good to me. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So that's how we got that chip in our mind that says this is the land of the home of the home of the brave and the land of the free, and there's truth, justice, and American way. And it's hard for us to understand that we have that chip in our head. I understand it, you understand it. So we know
Yeah.
how to deal with that chip. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because we keep coming back to it. We want things to be fair. We want to write letters to the judge. Things going to be fair. She's going to say, okay, these smart black people write me a letter. So I'm gonna be light on Marilyn Mosby. When we know this thing, she already got a marching orders, basically, to me. I'm just saying, Tyrone's saying that. Not
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn Mosby. Don't blame it on her.
Right.
It's me. Because, that's what I'm saying. I can say things that she can't say. And I'll say them because I'm an American citizen. That's how I feel. I sat in that court and I observed what was going on, you know. And the other thing, one of the other things she did was they were trying to get Marilyn Mosby for a line that she had a lien on a house. Her name was even on the mortgage documents for. Her husband bought that house before they were married. And
Mm.
there was a box checked on the computer that says, do you have any liens? Yes or no, when
Mm-hmm.
she's buying a property in Florida. First property
Right.
she ever bought. And she said the box was automatically checked no by the computer.
Mm.
And so she had no reason not to but she didn't have any
Had to
liens.
challenge it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So her husband testified that he lied to her that the liens had been taken care of. He also
Mm-hmm.
said that as president of city council on TV that he'd take care of the liens. So he came to court and said that. He admitted to all that. This is her ex-husband now. They divorced
Sure.
because she suffered a lot. She ruined their marriage, put a lot of straight in marriage and everything. And she lost everything. But what I'm saying is that when she found out about the fact that the lien was still in the house by opening his mail, she got mad. Yes, she did whatever, customer out, whatever, but she paid it with her own money. They had
Mm-hmm.
two different bank accounts. She paid it with her money. But the judge would not let the jury know she did that. The judge would not let the jury know that she paid that off as soon as she found out that her husband, it wasn't even her house. As soon as she found out her husband had a lien on that house that he bought before they were married. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. There's a whole lot of, to me, improprieties that happen in court. And it's so flimsy, it's probably going to fall apart on appeal. But she suffers so much, we don't want her to spend one day in jail. That's why we
But
asked
see,
for sentencing.
I think that you point to something that I experienced myself, and I try to counsel other people in my situation against also, is that once you come up against the power, the government, yeah, they would like to see you get in jail, but the object is to break you. The
Right.
object is to break you. And this is what has
Right.
happened to her. It's broken her marriage.
She says that. No, she said they will not break me. That's one thing. Because
Yeah,
it's like a buck breaking. She said this person.
yeah,
She says it's like a buck
yeah,
breaking ceremony.
yeah,
You know what buck
yeah.
breaking is, right?
Mm-hmm.
She said they're not gonna break me. And when the convictions came down, the media asked her, so what do you think? She said, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. And smiled and walked away. They hate that. They hate that.
Yeah,
They hate it when all those
yeah.
people showed up. Those 200 guys showed up to support. They start getting upset because what we don't understand is that white supremacy is a hell of a drug. There's addicts in every race. But the
Mm-hmm.
kryptonite to white supremacy is unity. You got to understand
Yeah.
that.
There you go.
Dr.
Come
King,
on with it.
Dr. King understood that. Malcolm understood that. Elijah Muhammad understood that. Marcus Garvey understood that. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And those guys were
Absolutely.
Garveyites. Malcolm X was Garveyite,
Mm-hmm.
and so was Dr. King. So they understood that unity is the kryptonite to
Mm-hmm.
white supremacy. And if we all unite, the countries in Africa, the Africans in the diaspora, they ain't got nothing on us, really. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see what's happening in Africa. What was it? Safari? I forget the name of the region where the French has control. It'll come to me.
Uh,
There's a word for it. The part of Africa, Sohan or something like that the French
oh,
control. It'll
okay.
come to me. But it's
I,
still African French colonies. And you got to remember, France has 1/4 of the world's gold reserves, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have no gold mines in France. All they gold mines are in Africa. And one of the countries is Niger. I mean, that has the gold mines, and they don't have any gold reserves. So how come a country that has no gold mines has the fourth largest gold reserves, but the country where it's coming from don't have any? How does
You
that work?
know, there was a book written several years ago called Journey of the Songhai People. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
you can't buy it today.
Why?
You can't buy it today. It's out of print. But that
Wow.
book, because I was looking for, I had it many years ago and I lost it. But I was looking for that book, and it explains a lot of what you're saying. And it really goes deep into the history that most people that is suppressed now. It's
My
absolutely
suggestion,
suppressed.
my suggestion to the people of Africa is to all the non-blacks out of there. You're not gonna have any freedom as long as they're there because they care more about what's under the people's feet than the people above the ground. And
Mm-hmm.
they would use the people slaves to get that stuff out of the ground for
Yeah.
the cheapest price possible. That's the mandate of capitalism. You gotta have a peasant class. We as black people were brought to this country to be the peasant class. You can't
Mm-hmm.
have large numbers of white people unemployed. They would have a revolution. We saw that
Right.
during the Great Depression. People went crazy. You had during the Great Depression, 25% of white people were unemployed. And they went crazy. You have people like Bonnie and Clyde, Pretty Boy Floyd, Machine Gun Kelly, uh, all these Al Capone, that all happened during the Depression. They went buck
Yeah.
wild, because they couldn't handle it. They felt like nobody cared about them. They're gonna take the law into their own hands. Bank robbers, all these notorious bank robbers, it all happened during the Depression. And we don't get all that. So they discovered that since they noticed that with alcohol, you could cause a whole lot of criminality just with alcohol. So
Yeah.
they started the war on drugs. Nixon said it to hurt black people. They understood that from alcohol prohibition. You had all these murders behind alcohol prohibition, but once they made it legal, no more murders behind alcohol territory. Now
Mm-hmm.
with drugs, if you understand that history as a Nixon or Reagan, you can understand that you can criminalize a massive population of black people. And it's something that Carol Anderson said that the war on drugs and the mass incarceration it caused was the answer to the civil rights movement. Because then you got a felony, guess what? You can't get a decent job, so you don't have to compete with white people. You can't vote in a lot of cases. All those rights you got, housing, they can discriminate based on a felony. All those rights we
Mm-hmm.
got during the civil rights movement, you lose for a substantial segment of our population because the war on drugs was fought in urban areas alone. We haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah. Well, you figure it out when you know the
When you're Earl
story
Roden,
about how the CIA dumped uh, dumped drugs into African American communities. That's another part.
nobody's gonna believe that
That's
until Massey said, "You
because
black." They
Massa
don't believe.
hasn't said it.
That's gotta say it. Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. Dark Alliance was written by, what I'm saying. What I'm saying. Well, you're right. You're right. I had a buddy. Matter of fact, I had a buddy that was there. He's a master sergeant down there, and he saw it. He saw it with his own eyes. Now they used what they did was they were fighting a war. The
Yeah,
Sandinistas were
yeah,
communists,
yeah.
and the Contras, the Nicaraguan Contras, were capitalists. And Reagan,
Yes.
Reagan hated communism so bad he was willing to sacrifice the black community to fight against it. So they were fighting an illegal war in
Yeah.
Nicaragua by selling drugs with Free Ray Rick Ross and these people in the United States.
Talk about Ali North.
Yeah, I don't even know if another trader, Lieutenant Colonel Albert North. But
Yeah,
anyway, average lieutenant colonel, not as good as
yeah.
me.
That's that's
But
that's
anyway,
all part of it.
yeah. But the thing about it is, if you understand that we fight these illegal wars. For instance, you see the movie American Gangster?
I did not know, but yeah.
Okay, with
Go ahead.
Denzel Washington, they were trying to act
Yeah.
like Frank Lewis went to Vietnam by himself and was able to bring the
Oh,
drugs over.
yeah.
Let me tell you something. That was the CIA helping them do that. That's why I was on.
Oh, yeah.
That's why the drugs were on government planes.
Oh, I
They were
know.
they were fighting an illegal war in Laos, I believe. So they had something called the Golden Triangle to fight
Yeah,
that war. CIA. The CIA does a lot of things. They participate in assassination. They
yeah.
destabilize a lot of countries because you got people in there that ain't that bright.
Let's go
Just
back
like
to
we are
Chiquita
black.
Banana. You know about that
Yeah,
one? Where
yeah. But then,
in the CIA? Yeah,
yes, yes. So we're
yeah.
gonna move on. I'm just putting that out there that this ain't what you see is not always what you think you
Yeah.
understand. So, and that, I can relate from my military experience that. And I think the guy that wrote the book, Wars of Racket, Jones, General Smedley Butler, he
Mhm.
was a general, a top general in World War I. He said he was nothing more than an enforcer for Citibank when he was fighting those banana wars.
Yeah.
That's what he said in that book. So
Wow.
he said, but at any rate, Marilyn Mosby has destabilized the
Power
whole
structure. Yeah.
industrial complex. And because her policies are being implemented all over the nation. They're being rolled back in
Mhm.
Baltimore, but they're
Mhm.
being implemented all over the nation. I'm sorry about my voice being so hoarse because
No, I
again,
get it.
I participated in
No,
that march, and I want
no.
people to hear me. So that's basically what I want to impart to people. Basically, is go to the website justiceformarilynmosby.com, justiceformarilynmosby.com, and I want you to review the podcast by Angela Rye, the lawyer, and
Mhm.
Andrew Gilliam, and you'll understand that whole trial was bogus from that. Then I want you to go to the petition. I want you to sign that petition to help this sister get out of this. It's going to help. Trust me. We need 100,000 names, and I
Yeah.
want you to contribute. You can $10, whatever you got, $20. I mean, we get 20. Think about this: if a million people donated $10, how much would that be?
Yeah.
10 million.
$10 million
Thank
dollars.
you. $10 million. So we get a
And
million black people to donate 10. This is a suffering, I'm telling you. She's got a public defender. And you know what they say about public defenders, right? If you ever want to go to jail, get a public
get a
defender and
public
you'll get your
defender.
wish.
Yeah.
You'll get your wish. So
I-
we don't need this is what a public defender.
well, this petition, and I don't think I don't know whether you've mentioned or not, has consequences in this particular election year because
Yes.
if you get 100,000 signatures, let's just
Yes.
say, and that there's a great possibility that if she's not given a pardon, that this could work against the sitting president
Yep.
and work for the president who's persecuted her, who's responsible for her being persecuted.
Thank you. But he'll have a partner. He loves it. He's home.
Oh
He's just
yeah,
home doing like and
yeah,
let me say this. Michael Flynn, I'm not gonna say Marilyn Moses is Jesus, but Michael Flynn's
yeah.
Barabbas. You
Okay,
know what I'm saying? Remember the story of
yes,
Barabbas? They
I
didn't
do.
want Jesus. He said he gave a choice. He said, "Who you want, Jesus or Barabbas?" Right? Barabbas is a
Yeah,
robber, a rapist. He's worse for
yeah.
that type of individual. And the people, instead of Jesus, they picked Barabbas. So
I'm
now
telling
we
you.
haven't learned anything in 2,000 years, have we? So here's our chance to learn something.
Here
Let's
we
get
go.
Jesus out of here, and let's help Jesus free Marilyn Mosby.
Wow,
Okay,
deep,
deep.
deep.
That's how we
Lieutenant
do it.
Colonel Boast, it's been great for us having you. Um, we had little technical glitches. I do apologize to our listeners that we intended to have Mrs. Mosby on our program, but when you look at the bigger picture, it's going to be better for us to have her at a later time
Yes,
than
yes.
than this time. So
Right.
we are
He's been
quite
rising up.
understanding of that, and we look forward to interviewing her and probably have the both of you on together at a later time, a date that
And
we'll announce soon.
hopefully we can get a partner. If you live in the Baltimore area, you can participate. We have a big cookout for her in Clarksville, Maryland. It's on the website www.justiceformarilynmosby.com. You
Mm-hmm.
can participate. She'll be at the cookout. You meet her. She'll hug you, shake your hand, and thank you for your support. She's very personable, and it's free. Get your free burger, whatever. I mean, you donate too. I mean, don't be cheap.
Yeah, yeah,
Donate $5. No,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
But you love
yeah.
to come for free if that's how you are.
Every little bit helps. Yeah, every
Maybe a
little
little bit
bit
help.
helps.
Yep.
Every little bit helps. And here at WCNG, we encourage those of you in the Baltimore and the Maryland and Washington D.C. area to go to www. That's Marilyn Mosby
Justice.
Justice for Marilyn Mosby.com. That's Justice for Marilyn MARILYN MOSBY.com.
Very easy to remember.
Very easy. Very easy. So, sir, we thank you. I'm going to put out a few closing remarks that will upset a few people, but we truly appreciate your being here with us on WCEG. Thank you so much. It was a last minute thing, but believe me, you imparted some relevant and some good information and insight to our listeners. So we
Yeah,
thank
this is
you.
too important. I appreciate you having me on, but this is too important for for her not to have any representation at all. And I'm
Mhm.
pretty good at facts and retaining
Yeah,
them. So, you know,
very good.
yes.
I just want to close out, folks, with this. Uh, America's election season. So some of you are easily deceived and led by prejudice, outlandish lies, and character assassination of people who seek to hold on to power by any means necessary. America, you have to stop selling your souls to any particular political party. If you look at Donald Trump or Senator Bob Menendez, you will see people who will stick. You will see that people will stick with the worst of people, no matter what they have done, simply because they're part of a political party. What kind of government do you expect when you do that? Some of you are just politically blind voters. You will only vote for a candidate who shares the same racial makeup as you. That is dumb. This is a city. There is a city here in Georgia that voted for a young man just because he was young, black, and liked to use profane language. He was elected despite his having posted online pictures of himself nude and one picture of him fondling himself. That is dumb, blind voting. This is true.
Is that
This is
so?
true. This
Is
is
that
a
so?
fact. This is a fact.
No, no.
All of us, all of us should have better sense than to vote for and support someone of that ilk.
Oh my God.
But you know, folks, they say we are better off when we vote for someone who looks like us rather than someone of another race.
I
That
would
is
vote for
why,
Clarence Thomas.
yeah, that is why Atlanta has one of the crappiest transportation systems in the country. If you depend on Atlantic public transportation, you cannot take a job that ends at 1 a.m. because you can't get home. If you get off that late, you have to either walk home or take a cab.
Wow.
You cannot be stuck on either Democrat or Republican. Once political parties know they have your vote wrapped up, no matter the circumstance, you become nothing more than a useful idiot to them.
Yep.
They owe you
Absolutely.
nothing because you are being bought
Amen.
for nothing. If you
Amen.
enjoy being looked upon as a useful idiot, keep on guaranteeing that you will only vote for Democrats or only vote for Republicans. It's election season, folks, and it's time to wake up. We close out by saying, please support Mrs. Marilyn Mosby. Go to justiceformarilynmosby.com. We thank Lieutenant Colonel Boast for joining us today. And folks, as always, we enjoy having you right here with us on Issues and Answers on the WCEG network. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.